So my question is about manifestation and being on the leading edge of thought. I've been blessed because I've been able to listen to Abraham recordings from the late 90s to the present, and I've seen an evolution of your teachings.
More description, more
Yes.
words, same message, quite boring.
Yes. No, but never been bored. And it's about the 4-step process, which at one time was the 3-step process. So I'm kind of analytical, so I have all these Abraham Post-it notes all over my house to keep me in the zone, right, in the vortex, so I remind myself. So I have the 4 A's on my refrigerator and my bathroom and here and there. So for me, the step is obviously to ask, to allow, to align, and the 4th step to be in awe, the 4th A, and that's being on the high flying disc, right?
Yeah.
So with that understanding of we are on the leading edge of thought, and as...
Let's call step 4 the maintenance of the receptive mode. That's really where you're at, where it's not just a matter of understanding it, it's a matter of having practiced it until you are consistently there. And then the life that is coming in response to that consistent vibration reflects that. So then it just sort of builds on itself. Happy attracts happy. You observe happy, which attracts more happy. It's sort of like a vicious circle of well-being.
Isn't it delicious? Yes. So the question is this: as we as a collective consciousness evolve, and there's perhaps more out there, right?
Perhaps more of what out there?
Everything.
Yeah.
But here's my question.
Yeah.
Is there a 5th step that as we evolve as an elevated community that we can participate in?
It's all about the degree of the alignment. It's about the consistency of alignment, mastery of anything. In other words, there are not more laws to discover. There may be many, many more ways of describing the laws that resonate more quickly or more easily. But once you're at that place where you understand that contrast is serving you and you've made peace with it, so that contrast is your friend, not your enemy, so that you are aware that you are molding the clay. So yes, let's give step 5 some form and function right here and now. Let's say step 1 is contrast causes the asking. Step 2 is that asking is satisfied vibrationally by source. And law of attraction begins the gathering of the cooperative components. So you've asked and it is given vibrationally. Step 3 is you're aware of your emotions, so you figure out how to lean in the direction of alignment. And step 4 is the steady maintenance of that. And step 5 is the recognition that within the contrast comes the question that is of value, so that you stop beating up on yourself as you're standing in a life-giving, life-promoting, expansion-building, contrasting moment.
Beautiful.
It's acceptance of this contrast that you were born into. Sometimes as we talk to you about your emotions, you seem, we've seen it in Esther, embarrassed about negative emotion, instead of reveling in her recognition that she is in an expanding mode, and that expansion is a good thing, not a bad thing, and that this experience was not just necessary for the expansion, but, and here it is, step 5, inspired by source. Imagine that source inspiring you to less than what you think you want in order to help you identify what you really want. Because we are eternal beings. There has to be some recognition and some willingness to accept that in this eternalness there must be reason to ask.
Nice.
Yeah?
There's always reason. Exactly.
But accepting the reason is a good thing, not a bad thing. In other words, not beating up on yourself every time you have a little bit of negative emotion, but saying, oh, a growth spurt. A clarifying moment, a molding of the clay moment, an inspired moment. In other words, sometimes you can feel it. Esther's recognizing it a lot, that She's actually being guided into a situation for the value and the clarity that the situation will bring. And why is that? Because you are first and foremost a joy-seeking, expanding being. You cannot stand still, and you don't want to. Lethargy is the worst emotion. That feeling of not wanting to move for fear you'll make a mistake. Yeah. Move, get out there, mix it up. Nothing ever goes wrong. In other words, you cannot get it wrong. Can't get it wrong, and you can never get it done. So that is the essence of step 5. We've been saying it right from the beginning, but now you're hearing it in a whole new way.
Beautiful.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah?
Awesome. Thank you. That was so amazing.
Something more?
There is. Where I live, to show our aloha for each other, our connectiveness, we hug people. So can I?
Yeah, hug them all at once, from the inside out. If you give Esther a hug, Esther will come forward and we'll have to step into the background.
Oh, we don't want that to happen.
She'll lick your face.
Okay, I understand. But it's been golden, so I want to honor the hot seat.
Yeah.
So I'm all power.
Really good conversation.
Yeah, it was good.
Very
Thank you.
good. Yes. Now what?
Did we just get a step 5?
Yeah, you did.
Wow.
The thing is, you've been getting it for a while. It was just identified as such, and you were all there to understand the importance of it, yes? There was finally enough momentum about it that it culminated into something that we can substantially identify as something to really, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's 5? 5 is the most important step of all, isn't it?
Yeah.
It dovetails back with the very first step, but this time when it dovetails back, you're giving yourself permission to be human and alive on the leading edge. On the leading edge. On the leading edge. Yeah.
Beautiful. Making peace with the contrast. It feels like step 5, it feels like the last piece.
Making peace with it and reveling in it and eating it up and taking life on in an attitude of security, in an attitude of balance, in an attitude of no fear, in an attitude of robustness and eagerness and fullness. Total self. Really, Abraham, my total self is involved with me in this step 5 sort of contrasting moment. Yes. There's nothing that your inner being likes more than expansion, but your inner being doesn't suffer in it. That's what the exercise of step 5 is for you, to be in contrast and not suffer. Calling it difference, calling it variety, not calling it bad, calling it options, calling it opportunity, calling it clarification, not bad, not wrong, variety. Yeah, see? Mariah agrees.